What is up everyone, it's TK and today I'm going to show you a strategy where you don't actually need to have 4 heroes in action. So we're going to dive into some of my attacks with the rocket loons and the fireball strategy, and let's see how I execute my plans on every single one of these bases, whereas we don't need the royal champion anymore. So let's dive in and see this video. So here we are on this base, and guys, some of you may think, oh, maybe the bases are bad or maybe I'm low in legends, but no, actually I was quite high in legends when I was doing my attacks. And you can see this is Abu Fahad, someone that is usually in the leaderboards, and I'm here hitting his base, which is again actually a new base as well. So it's not like those very old bases that I'm doing the swag or see. And guys, you might be thinking like I'm joking or something, but you actually don't need 4 heroes with this strategy. You need to perfectly execute it, of course, if you want to swag Royal Champion, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world. So what I do is I usually take down one of the mortars. This way I can actually drop the Flame Flinger to take down 2 major defenses, sometimes even 3 if the base is not built properly. We do have the Warden on the lower side, a bit angled, so I want to drop the Warden ability on the Ricochet Cannon or that Fire Spitter, doesn't matter exactly which one. Obviously the Ricochet Cannon would be perfect value. Now notice I'm going to take down more buildings and basically defenses with those rocket loons, because guys, you're not gonna finish the base with the rocket loons. Note this, you can use these, so you can use less invisibilities or perfect invisibilities to drop the fireball in the middle of the base. Now the key thing about these bases, if you want to drop the fireball in the core, is that notice there is no building here. So if I invis these defenses, my warden would actually dive into the base. But now when he's on the enemy queen, this is the perfect moment to go and drop the warden. But notice when I did it a bit late, this is what's gonna happen. He goes inside so much damage, and in this case pull the CC. So you can see once the warden was on the queen, that's when, or on the storage, that's when you can actually go with those invisibilities and you have the time to take down the bases. Now notice my Flame Flinger is doing amazing, but it's open, kind of going to be open now. I have the king and queen usually at the same side, but further away from the ground warden, so the warden can do his own thing and the king and queen can do their own thing, you know. Now we're negating the enemy king. This is where I actually didn't see my own king. It's kind of just messy, so I went with a very late headhunter, and that kind of made sure we lose on a lot of king HP, and that is not good. But notice I'm also raging the warden at the same time, and if you take the base compartment by compartment, just like we did with the Flame Flinger, with the fireball, with the warden, king and queen, you can see there is not much left because warden also steps to the right. If my warden went to the left, then I would sui with king and queen on the right. So you can see the compartment by compartment takedown will make sure you don't need the royal champion. This is the only way to swag RC. So go ahead with a nice plan of Flame Flinger first, take down those mortars, and of course swag RC or a few spells here and there. But let's move on to our second hit. So here we are on this double invisibility bases. Now I'm gonna give you a big thing on these ones. Obviously you need one of the invisibility towers to go down with the fireball, so that already made your plan. But obviously because it's the invisibility tower, you can't really go with the Flame Flinger on the other one. So on this case I'm going with the Flame Flinger on the lower side, which you can see the value we're gonna be getting. Now once I know the skellies are dead and no more Teslas, you can see then I'm gonna switch my attention to the right hand side so we can get a nice perfect value and a juicy value with the fireball, taking down these buildings. Now the only problem here is that once you do this type of fireball where the warden is close to the Flame Flinger, you usually want him to go upwards. Okay, you want him to kind of move away from the Flame Flinger, because these are the values that the Flame Flinger will get anyway. So you're wasting your warden potential at this point. Don't worry though, it's fine, it's not the end of the world. You can still go down with the king and queen on the top side, as I mentioned on the last attack. If your warden goes to the left, king and queen will be to the opposite side. If it goes to the right, then they will be to the opposite side. You know what I'm saying? That is how they work. But don't forget these beautiful cocoloons to go and dive into the base for those air traps. I'm gonna zoom out a bit more so you can see everything. King on the top side, minion prince on the king. Now minion prince is your worst enemy in these bases, because obviously it's really hard to take him down. He needs 2 headhunters, and if there is a multi-archer tower or a ricochet cannon or a town hall right next to him, it's gonna be tough, okay? It's gonna be tough, but don't worry. You got the Phoenix, you got the Queen and Rage, and still Warden on the lower side. Notice my spells. I do have the invisibilities, which on these bases, usually you use 2 just to get the Warden, Fireball inside those ranges, but that's when you can actually use more with your Sui. So on this case, for the Queen or for the Warden, when they're negating too much damage. Now the good thing here is that my Queen is actually going to take down the Minion Prince. Otherwise, yeah, it would be hard. I needed the RC. But one few locker runes actually for the single Inferno to activate the spell tower. Sometimes you may actually tell yourself, well, I sent a few, but they kind of didn't activate it even though the single Inferno went down. I'm gonna tell you this little tip with the invisibility towers. Guys, if you're dropping a troop to damage anything inside the invisibility tower, that exact troop that did the damage has to stay alive for 1 point something seconds. So in our case, if you drop 2 or 1 rocket loon, and for example, the 1 rocket loon will do the damage, but it dies, but the invisibility will not actually get activated. So you need more rocket loons to go ahead and do more damage. Then the invisibility has time to drop. That's when it's going to get activated. I know a lot of you may have already seen what I'm talking about, but that is it, the tip I can give you. And another swag RC on this base, you can see how we're taking down compartment by compartment. Nothing too crazy. We're not like going with crazy spell placement. No, it's regular charges. Obviously, this strategy in hard mode is currently one of the best to use, but it's very harder to control because of the 20% extra damage. And we're gonna try our best, like I'm going to try my best to learn and master this strategy with all the damage that is necessary in the base. And hopefully I can get this hard mode done, man, because hard mode is being really tough. I've been trying my best to triple. It's not been happening. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not been happening. But obviously, it's very good to see that you actually get rewarded for triples in the hard mode by the viewers, by the streamers, by yourself. You will enjoy it and feel a lot better. Your teammates will appreciate your triples because you may have just saved the war. So yeah, that's why I'm doing this strategy in the first place, if that was your question. Let's move on to the next hit. Next up, we have this core heavy rage tower. Like, these are the ones that you are like, fireball right there, okay? So you can see like the fireball strategies are not as popular right now in Legends, but these rage towers are for root riders or dragons. You can see everything is hitting the air, everything is splashed, so they want to take down those dragons quickly. Now what I'm here to do, like what I want to do, is to pull the royal champion and kill it with 2 headhunters. This is regular, you can do that. 1 Valkyrie, 2 headhunters will kill an outside enemy hero. So now I'm going with the opposite side, Grand Warden, to be able to drop my fireball into the core. Doesn't matter if it's exactly on the rage tower. I'm not too greedy, okay? If you want to get greedy, you need to spend more spells and then get the, of course, like the results. But if you don't want to spend more spells or like kind of more rocket loons, then you shouldn't really be greedy for getting more value. That is how fireball works. So on the lower side, Flamefinger is doing amazing. He's also going to take down that as well. Now we do have some rocket loons to take down the wizard tower, so you can see that invisibility drops will simply get easier if you take down those buildings. Now notice, when is the best time to pop this warden invisibility is when he's not too deep into the base. So when he's going and taking down that builder heart is around the time I'm gonna pop it. Good thing was the skelly, but unfortunately I hope it was a bit more later, so we could have kept my warden here, and by the time of course invisibilities go off, you can see going with that fireball, getting the core value that I needed, and the warden simply coming to the left. So don't funnel behind your warden too much, otherwise there won't be a building he will target, so he will just dive into the base. Now notice I'm dropping my king a bit further from that as well. One thing you might be saying, why do I have the queen's giant arrow? Well, there's 2 reasons for it. One being the invisibility towers being the meta in the current Legends League, and the other reason is that sometimes if you miss an earthquake with your fireball, well, the queen can finish that off. It's really good, same as the flame flinger. If you see your flame flinger didn't get the value you were looking for, the queen can easily just finish it off with that giant arrow, but you need to angle it, of course, perfectly. Now, I'm gonna have some nice spell placement here because my queen was nearly about to die on that ricochet cannon, but obviously I meant like the ability of the king. But notice, so many spells. Like, the damage of this base was nowhere. It was just in the core and on the sides, which we actually end up going with all these swag spells because we didn't need to go through those damages as much as you thought. We are separating our heroes to take certain damage depending on those areas of the base, and that's how Fireball again works. Like, you need to master it. You're not gonna go into Legends right now and maybe swag your RC, but you will definitely get a triple because the army is very enjoyable to use and quite easy to use, but not as easy as spamming maybe, but still, this was how it's done. Let's move on to our final hit. So on the last attack, here we are on another double invisibilities. Now again, I'm bringing you all these style of bases, whereas you can see how to take them down, especially with the multiple spell combination. We saw the rage, we saw the poison, we saw the invisibilities, combination of invisibilities, and of course here I'm going with Rockaloons on that expo. 4 Rockaloons is always enough to take the expo down, and then later you are free with a nice flame flinger value. But not all bases give you that, because of course we do have the enemy queen still on this side of the base. Going with that fireball, obviously it's a very simple fireball, 2 invisibilities, boom, it's done. The whole entire compartment is down. And notice, if the warden goes to the left, then you have your heroes to the right. Again, as I said, that's something very usual. So what about the core? What are you gonna do with it, right? Like, that probably is your question. Well guys, I actually had no plan. I'm gonna be honest, no plan. So I was just going with the flow, and this is the beauty of this strategy. You have so much time to go and plan whatever happens in future because of the flame flinger and your warden. Now notice, on this attack, my flame flinger didn't actually get too much value, and the super minions will finish what I wanted them, the flame flinger to finish. I noticed my warden was going very low, so I'm going with that invisibility. See, if this was hard mode, he would have died 5 seconds ago. So that's how different the damage is. You don't have that much time anymore in hard mode to kind of just watch and not do anything. You need to always keep dropping something. That's also how hard mode works right now. Going with the king on the right side. Now again, the core, I still didn't have a valid plan for it. I was just going with the flow, going with this Rockaloon to go and tank for any air traps to the healers kind of area that they're walking towards, going with the Queen Giant Arrow to activate that invisibility tower because we're getting closer and closer to it. So going with the wall breaker, you can see the baby dragon finishing off the enemy queen. My warden is still fine. I'm dropping 1 more Rockaloons. You can see how I'm doing the little multitasking, which is going to be rewarding at the end. King, he's going through ability which ended up opening the core, and you can see how we got the funnel on the top. And now I didn't plan for my Sui to go exactly like that when I was in the 30 seconds. Trust me, I didn't do it. You might think like, oh my god, this was the perfect plan. How did he come up with it? Well, I'm not gonna sit here and talk good about myself. I actually didn't come up with that plan. I was just going with the flow, and that is how sometimes Legends League is. You need to go with the flow, see how things turn out. Sometimes the flame flinger could die, sometimes your warden could die, your plan. Then if you had a very good plan, it will just be very bad. Like, you can't recover. If you have your mind open, if you're open-minded player, this is how sometimes your attacks will look. So this is my tip to you guys. Obviously, there was a lot of tips in this video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed everything and learned a few one and remembered, because that is the most important part of remembering the tips and actually doing them in action. So hopefully this strategy will work really well for you. I mean, obviously it worked really well for me, so it should work for you as well, and everyone can do these armies. Obviously at the beginning you might think it's too complicated, but trust me and trust yourself, it's actually not that complicated and serious. Just go and have fun. The link of the army will be down below in the description, and if you have any questions or suggestions, make sure you leave it in the comments down below. And hopefully you guys enjoying the bases I've been providing in my membership. And if you're new here, well, go ahead and check it out. Maybe you'd like to join, and the link of the Discord will also be down below in the description. Hopefully I'll see you soon tomorrow. Take care and peace.